Welcome to the Free Your Spirit podcast. My name is Louise Wilson. I'm a mystic, healer, entrepreneur, and business coach, and I am obsessed with helping you open up the lines of communication with your spirit so that you can receive the wisdom, the guidance, the clarity, and confidence you need to reach your big goals and dreams. Alrighty then, welcome folks to our listeners and our viewers. A very exciting topic in this week's episode. We're actually going to be talking about how to connect with the powerful guidance of your soul so that you can get the answers to any question in your life, whether it's in relation to your career, business, relationships, love, money, whatever it may be. Alrighty, so let's dive in. This topic is, oh my goodness, it's the foundation of everything that I do. And I'm so passionate about it because it took me so long to figure it out. It took me so long to learn how to connect with the powerful wisdom and guidance of my soul. And I spent many years reading all of the books, doing the trainings, traveling the world, globe-trotting, looking for the next best thing that was going to give me those answers. And I'm excited to share with you that it really isn't that difficult. Number one, we teach what we most need to learn. And I truly believe that my spiritual journey was very long and involved so that I could show others the quicker and easier route. So that's why I'm really excited to be diving into this today. It's why I'm so passionate about this body of work, because as we connect with that powerful inner guidance, inner knowing within us, and we take action, that's when the magic can really unfold in our lives. And I'm going to share a little bit of my own. I know, well, there's so many stories, but there's one in particular, and it was so magical because I really allowed myself to go on that journey when I just leaned in, listened, and followed that guidance every step of the way. And yeah, it brought me to my husband today, and now I'm living in Canada. I was living in Amsterdam, but I'm going to talk more about that in a moment. But you know, in kicking off, if you've been in my world obviously for any length of time, you know that I talk about how we are physical beings, but we're spiritual beings too. You know, there's sort of like this, we're spiritual beings living in a physical body. And I think for the most part, this was my experience. And if you're listening, maybe it's been your experience too, if you're watching on YouTube, is that everything, for the most part, in most of our cultures, you know, everything is geared towards the conscious reality, the physical realms. Not all cultures, absolutely not. But I know in my own personal experience, everything was about, as a little child, you get sort of, there's a framework that you start to live within. There's these boundaries, there's a box, you know, and I found this at school. It was so frustrating as a young child, and I don't know if you've experienced this too, where you're in the school system and you feel as though you've been put in this box. I mean, for me, I remember, you know, you had the young kids that were very studious, and then you had the kids that were really outgoing and they were really friendly with the kids that were kind of a little bit more rebellious, you know, the people that were really liked and loved. And there were these different boxes, if you will. And I was put in this box that I didn't want to be in it. I didn't want to be that quiet kid that just, it was so frustrating to me. But it was like, that's Louise, that's who she is. And I really struggled too at school. You know, I worked really hard, but I'm dyslexic, so I had a lot of challenges there. So emerging from the system, I became somebody that I didn't really want to be, you know, and I gave up on a lot of my childhood dreams because I had seen myself, I kid you not, I saw a vision of myself in the future, wildly successful entrepreneur, and that was what I wanted. But by the time I emerged from the education system, I'd given up on all of those dreams because the system kept telling me over and over and over and over and over and over again that I was stupid. Like, my results weren't very good, like, no matter how hard I worked. So that's perhaps one of the beefs I have with the education system. I know this was a long time ago, and if there are people here, that you're currently a teacher or in the system, I know that things have changed a great deal. But, it happens that we get railroaded, or we get pigeonholed, or we get fast-tracked. If you're really good at math or you're really good at science, you might find yourself being fast-tracked into a career that doesn't really match the contours of your soul. And so in this week's podcast episode, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about living our deeper purpose, unlocking our deeper purpose. And if you're waking up every day, you're totally jazzed, passionate, love what you do, absolutely, feel a deep sense of peace, purpose, on track, then you've nailed it. Because I think a big part of unlocking our deeper purpose is really quite simple. It's about doing the things you love. And I want to dive too into what are the number of ways in which we can actually tap into that deeper purpose, our soul's calling. And it's really related to and connected to leaning in and listening to the voice of our intuition, the voice of our soul, because it knows the truth, the absolute truth of who we are, why we're here, what we came here to accomplish, the many gifts, talents, and abilities we've brought with us to fulfill on our life's path and purpose when I'm talking about this. But one of the challenges we face, going back to that whole notion of being spiritual beings in a physical body, is that we have our conscious mind, and then we have our higher self, our spirit, soul, source. And what typically happens is that we have these voices. We're not going crazy, like I hear voices. I hear the voice of my conscious mind that always wants to keep me safe, can be pretty critical of me at times, especially when I want to break out of my comfort zone. Doesn't like that at all. And so it'll throw everything and anything at me to stop me from doing that. And then I have the voice of my intuition and my soul that absolutely is pulling me to step out of that, of the safety, to really stretch myself, to expand, because it knows the totality and the fullness of who I truly am and what I'm capable of. And I don't know if any of our listeners and viewers can relate to this, but if you have a sense or feeling that you are meant for something more, that there is this other life waiting for you, that you don't feel like you've fully unlocked your deeper purpose, that you're not doing the things that you really want to be doing in your life, then I would say that's the voice of your soul. That unease, that kind of feeling out of alignment is basically what's going on. Is you've got these two voices at play. There's the voice of your conscious mind that wants you to play it safe, do what you've always done. And when we do what we've always done, we're always going to get what we've always got. And then you've got the voice of your intuition, your higher self, your soul, that's calling you to do something completely different. And sometimes it will want you to do some pretty wild and crazy things. And I've learned this from my own personal experience. Just to say, emerging from the education system, I lacked a lot of confidence in myself. I was so fearful and afraid of everything. And I never took chances. I always played it safe. If there was, even in those meetings, in business, it took me a long time to be able to speak up and be heard, had to think that my voice even mattered, what I had to say even mattered. And it took a really defining, pivotal event in my life, traumatic event, that really pushed me out of that comfort zone, where I felt I'd lost everything. It was when I separated from my first husband. It was very, 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 very difficult time for me. Very sad time for me. I don't think I'll ever go through anything like that ever again, because I have the tools now. I can lean into my intuition, my soul. I know that when I'm making decisions, I'm actually making the right decisions, because I'm tapped into that part of me that knows what to do next. So just to say, we have these two voices that are playing out, and the conscious mind, the National Science Foundation has actually done studies on this, where we have between, I think it's 12 and 80,000 thoughts a day. And or 60,000 thoughts a day, and 80% of those thoughts are actually negative. And 95% of those thoughts are repetitive. Now, this is a challenge on a number of levels. Number one, repetitive negative thoughts. If you imagine what that does to you and your ability to take action, your ability to step out of your comfort zone, your ability to stretch and expand your horizons. If you've always got this voice telling you that you're not good enough, you're not enough, you don't know enough, you're too young, too old, too inexperienced, too experienced, whatever it's telling you, you're crazy, you're wild, you do that, you must be kidding. These are the things that I have to listen to, and even to this day, even I have to catch it. And if it has something important to tell me, like, Louise, there's a car coming, call the dogs, have them close by you. Okay, I'll listen. But when it gives me that nonsense or tripe, as my mum would have said, I don't listen anymore. And sometimes it can be difficult not to. But I'm more and more really trying to embrace the part of me that is powerful beyond measure, is infinite, immortal, and eternal. And the more I listen to that voice and I just keep acting on it, doors keep opening for me. And I think this is the important piece, is we have to listen, but we also have to take action. And I'm just going to share a little story with you because I love this story personally. It was a very defining moment and time in my life on my own personal and spiritual journey. So as I shared before, I was afraid of everything. And I since discovered that a lot of my fears and phobias, truth here, I actually struggled with OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, because I had a lot of fear and anxiety around completely irrational, house burning down, being burgled, being robbed. Like, I thought I was going crazy. And then when I discovered that a lot of this stuff, it wasn't even mine, it was ancestral. And it was connected to my Scottish heritage, living on the borders of Scotland. You're living on a knife's edge. You've got the English raiding, burning, pillaging. We were raiding, doing stuff like it. My goodness, all of that was passed down to me, and I had to do a lot of work to heal it and release it and let it go. And it was such a relief to no longer feel like I'm not going crazy. And I don't have to check the plug a million times before I leave the house anymore. I can just walk out the door and it's all good. So I was a very fearful person. And then that defining moment when I separated from my first husband, I really felt like the rug had been pulled from under me and I felt I'd lost everything. And I was living in Amsterdam. I didn't know anybody. I was traveling 4 hours a day to my work. Like, I really felt like I had nothing to lose at that point. There was nothing to lose. We had people staying in our home, so I didn't need to worry about the mortgage. I just started to go for it in life. And I think that for me, I had to have that wild and crazy ride, wild, crazy defining moment to really kick me out of my comfort zone and get me on my path, get me on track and on purpose. And it really was the beginning of my own spiritual awakening, spiritual journey, spiritual seeking, searching. A very long journey, as I said at the beginning of the episode, but I think a lot of what I learned has really powerfully helped me because I can help others do it so much more quickly. And so to connect with their soul, to connect with the guidance that they're looking for, to get the answers, to unlock your deeper purpose. And so I remember I was working in Amsterdam and I was working for Greenpeace International. And I remember reading this book, and it was by Lynn Andrews. I think it was called The Wedding Basket. And I was just devouring all of the books, Deepak Chopra, Louise Hay, all about, spiritual journeys and awakenings. And she was sharing about her journey and her spiritual journey in Canada. And I thought, oh my goodness, I have to go to Canada. And so luckily, actually, because in the book, it was Manitoba. But for some reason, Manitoba didn't register. It wasn't meant to register because I wasn't meant to go to Manitoba on my spiritual journey. So I remember going to see the head of Action and Marine Services in Greenpeace, and he gave me a book called The Great Bear Rainforest. And he said, you have to read this book. It was all about what was happening on the West Coast in relation to protecting the forests. And so I was like, okay. And he says, you need to go to Tofino. I'm like, okay. So that was it. I booked my ticket to Vancouver, and I didn't make any plans other than my plane ride and my first 2 nights accommodation. And I remember my friends wanting to come with me, and I'm like, no, you know what? I just knew. Again, it's that knowing. And I really want to encourage you, if you're feeling that, lean into it, because it's there for a reason. It's telling you something. It's like, no, this is a journey you have to do on your own. So I ended up getting the ferry to go across to Tofino. But for a number of reasons, that's a whole other exciting story, but I'll talk about that maybe in another podcast episode. But the ferry that I got from Nanaimo to Horseshoe Bay was the 5 o'clock ferry. And so I innocently, kind of naively went up to the bus driver and said, oh, can I get a ticket to Tofino? And he's like, can't get you to Tofino till tomorrow. No buses going, can get you to Parksville. There's a campsite there. And I'm like, oh, okay. I guess that's what I'm doing. But then I'd also started to chat with this group of young people. And one guy was like, well, hey, come with me. I'm going to a reggae festival on Denman Island. And then these other girls were like, we're going to this, I forget, it was some hippie festival. And I'm like, okay. And so it was an 1.5 hour ferry ride, and I had an 1.5 hours to make a decision. Now, my conscious mind was telling me, Louise, you cannot go with a complete stranger to a reggae festival on Denman Island. That would be reckless. And there was another part of me was like, well, kind of sounds interesting, but the conscious mind was pretty clear. And then I could hear my sister too, like, don't do it. So as family do, they want to protect you, they want to keep you safe. And so as I'm getting back and forth in my mind, shall I, shan't I, I'm getting off the ferry, got my backpack on my back. I turn to the young lad and I say, hey, I'm going to tell him I'm not going to go with you. By the way, I will go with you to Denman Island. That's what came out of my mouth. I'm like, wait, what? What did I just say? That is not what I wanted to say. That's not what I was going to say. I was going to tell him I wasn't going to go. And so he was like, yeah, cool, come on, follow me. And I'm following him, still trying to figure out, oh my God, what do I do now? How do I tell him? I don't want to be going with him. And then before I know it, we're on the highway. We stick our thumbs out and we get a ride. And we're on the way to Denman Island. Now, this is something I would never, ever, ever, ever do. And especially for somebody that was so fearful, so afraid of everything, always had to have everything mapped out, planned, the whole thing. Hitching, just not on my bucket list of things to even want to do. But here I am. I'm hitching with this guy, I think his name was Barry, and we're off to Denman Island, and we make it to Denman Island, and I have the most amazing weekend. It's incredible, great reggae festival, so much fun. We're kind of like swimming and doing all of the things. His friends are awesome. Then it comes to like Sunday night, and he's like, well, I've got a shift now back in Victoria, I've got to go back. And I'm like, oh, okay, I should call the coach, but I can't get a coach. I can't get to Tofino, and I feel very embarrassed, like, oh my goodness, now these people have been very gracious to have me, and now he's leaving and I'm staying, they're stuck with me. But it was so funny, they were so gracious, they're like, no problem, So anyway, we're taking him to the ferry, and I leave my backpack at the house, feeling a bit sheepish about the whole thing and a little uncertain about it. And we're driving down to the ferry on Denman Island, sorry. And the guy who's driving, he stops the car because there's somebody in the ferry lineup, and he's like, "Hey, Sheila, how are you?" Yeah, good. Where are you going? Tofino. Hey, my friend wants to go to Tofino. Can she catch a ride with you? Sure. So now he says, hold the ferry, because the ferry was they were boarding, hold the ferry, we've got to go back and get her backpack. So we raced back, got my backpack. Sheila's a very determined woman, and that ferry wasn't going anywhere without me. So I pile in, and I got my next ride, which is all the way to Tofino. Now, this is an adventure, folks. And the upshot of the whole thing is, as we're coming into Tofino, my sensible voice was like, Louise, it's a holiday. The campground told you that if you get in there early, they may be able to find you a spot, but they are all fully booked. It's a long shot. You should go to the campsite, get them to drop you off at the campsite. But the other voice was saying, oh, this is so fun. Let's just go into Tofino, check it out. They're going to the coffee shop. I'm just going to do that. So I kind of rolled with it. So we get to the coffee shop and we're in there, we're having a coffee. I'm just like feeling just so happy. And then this man walks in through the back garden. We're all sat at this table and the man walks in, rather good looking man. And Sheila knew him. She's like, hey, Rob, and Rob's now my husband. And so it was an incredible journey to me, knowing that I needed to do that journey alone, knowing that I needed to just be open to all of the doors that opened up to me and just to follow that guidance, follow my intuition. Rob and I were inseparable after meeting in the coffee shop. He stayed, we were together for a couple of weeks. It was so incredible. 2 or 3 weeks, so many things happened. Oh my goodness, it's a whole other episode that I could tell you of all the synchronicities that happened around us coming together and our wonderful adventure for those 2 or 3 weeks in Canada. And then when I flew home, it was like, I just knew I was in love with this man, and I knew that this was it. And Rob actually came to visit me in Amsterdam, and he'd only been with me for a matter of days. So I'd known him now, known him for 3 weeks. When I woke up this one morning, I love to work in the dream time. It's a very powerful place. And just before we go to sleep, just when we wake up, we're in those in-between states. And I remember clearly hearing a voice say, Louise, you need to quit your job and move to Canada. And I did it. I just knew. It was like such a powerful knowing. And I think that knowing gets more and more strong, more and more powerful, more and more, we're more aware of it the more we lean into it because we feel it, So I think I really just wanted to share this this episode today, to really reinforce that, if you're wanting to connect with your soul, if you're wanting to understand more of your life's path and purpose, if you're wanting to unlock that, if you're wanting to open up those realms of possibility in your life, then truly the more you lean into your intuition, that intuitive voice, and act on it, the more those doors of possibility will open, the more the path will open up for you as you do that. And our spirit and soul, they're talking to us 24/7. Our spirit communicates to us in the nighttime hours, and soul, always signs, synchronicities, intuitive nudges to call somebody and they just needed to hear from you. Whatever it is, like, we are receiving that guidance. It's just a question of, are we listening? Are we tuned into it? And I wanted to share my journey to really finding that bridge and being able to tap into it so easily now. It's so easy for me. And it wasn't always that way. And I really just want to, in closing, just to reinforce that you don't have to be born with these psychic gifts, powers, and abilities. Absolutely not. We all have them. psychics, mediums, yes, they have those special abilities, but we all have that. We all can tap in. We all can open that gateway to our spiritual source, to our guides, guardians, ancestors. We absolutely can do that. And it's a lot easier than you may realize. And I just wanted to share one last thing, that I have a beautiful masterclass coming up, my Clarity Now masterclass. I'm so excited about this, because what this masterclass allows you to do is to tap into the voice of your soul, to channel the messages directly from your soul around, what is your deeper purpose? What do you value most? What brings you joy? And connects you to those in the realms of spirit, who supports you in the realms of spirit. But also, very importantly, the soul holds the keys to your past, present, and future. It knows the many lifetimes that you have lived. And in this way, it can also show you in the masterclass some of the invisible blocks that may be preventing you from really powerfully moving forwards in your life in a very strong and empowered way. And these blocks could be related to your present life experience, past life, or ancestral. So it's a deeply powerful masterclass. I love facilitating this. I've been facilitating it for over a decade now. And it's really quite remarkable, the insights that the things you can find out about yourself. Some people do it and they're like, oh my gosh, why was I worried? I'm on track, I'm good. Others have been like, wow, it's great to know where I'm going, to see the future, what's become possible for me, to know the things that are blocking me. So it is so profound. And as we turn the chapter on 2021, I think it's a really great time to do that reset, to get clear. Moving into 2022, how do I want to focus my energy and attention? Maybe you know what it is that you want to do. Clarity Now will help you. It'll give you the guidance to get even more dialed in on that. If you don't know, it's going to open the doors to give you insights into what it is that you do want to be doing. And obviously giving you insights on the things that are preventing you from taking action, because, maybe you've been doing all of the things, but you're not getting the results that you want. And it's likely because there's some things playing out in the background that are keeping you stuck in your life. So if Clarity Now resonates for you, if it's landing for you, if you're feeling that nudge, tug, pull, intuitive guidance to sign up, then just click the link below or around this video. There'll also be a link in the show notes. I'd love to welcome you into the Clarity Now experience. And I'm also going to be running a live version of the masterclass on the 5th of December, which is another part of the bonuses within the Clarity Now program. This is a special opportunity. I'm actually offering a massive discount, 80% discount. You can enroll for just $97. Now, this opportunity to join the Clarity Now Masterclass for just $97 is only available for a limited time. So check out the special link around this video to snag your seat. And finally, if you aren't already following me on social media, come soak up the extra inspiration on Instagram by following me at Sunshine Louise Wilson, or by visiting my Facebook page at Louise Wilson Clarity Coach. Alrighty then, folks, I'm sending a blanket of love and blessings across the ethers and the miles, and I shall see you in the next episode. Bye for now.